10 and 11, but before we do that, let me show you how we will work with the online or the counseling sessions. Let me see. Let me go back to discussion. No, I need assignments. Okay. Here's the history form, as I said before. That's it right there. There's the history form. Click on it. You can fill it out. Hubert. There we go. You can fill it out. It's a Word document, and then you can either send it to me or you can put it in the Dropbox. The Dropbox. Whoops! Don't save. Dropbox is right here. You can put it in there, and I will find it. I had a little trouble this morning, and once I do that, this is what I will do with it. Okay, this is the discussion page. So what I will do is I will create a file for people to write under. Let's see what I do with it. Okay, there we go. And this one has already been turned in. So we'll put it in there and we'll submit it. And now if we go down through all the discussions, and we get all the way to the bottom, there it is on the bottom. And so what you will be able to do after you counsel Iovina, then you'll be able to put your notes underneath Iovina, and then I will know that you did it. I'll look at your notes, and I will give you credit for doing the counseling session. Okay, one thing that Ms. Begay didn't do is you need to create a fictional name. I've given her initials, but you need to give your character a fictional name, if you would, please. Okay, so you need to get those in. We're going to start after spring break, I think. We're going to start in the 10th week. We'll probably start in around the 1st of April. And then you'll have the rest of the semester to finish up. That's all of April and the beginning week of May, I believe, so that'll be about 5 weeks. To get your counseling sessions in. If you delay on this, then you're not going to have a full 5 weeks to get your counseling sessions done, and it might be a little difficult to find somebody to counsel. So that's the way it works. Let's go ahead and get started on today's lecture. Chapter 10 and Chapter 11. Chapter 10 deals with developing a deeper understanding. We talked about understanding before, so let's go ahead and let's see what we have to see here. In ordinary conversation, people often communicate in verbal shorthand, only discussing topics in a superficial way. We rarely ask for more information. We assume that people use words the same way that we do, and sometimes that's not true. As you can see, it looks like this young Asian lady isn't understanding what he's saying. Possibly she's an Asian American. Who knows what he's saying? Men are so silly sometimes. It is important for practitioners to listen for gaps in information, notice points and words that are not clear, ask about how conclusions are reached. And this is really important. The whole point is for you, the two of you, to communicate. And they've got a problem that they really don't want to talk about. And the reason they don't want to talk about it is because it's too painful to talk about. So sometimes you have to dig, and you have to listen to what they're saying and listen and try to figure out what they're not saying. And it's usually what they're not saying is what the problem is. I understand you're feeling depressed. What is depression like for you? And of course, that's an interesting picture. If you look at that picture, you can see the, uh, this is an electrical outlet. That's a picture from Europe. That's what their outlets look like. They're round like that. They have direct current. We have alternating current, I believe. Anyway, I hear you are concerned about your children's behavior. Can you give me some examples? They stick their tongues out all the time. They're just wild children. I noticed that several people in the group are looking at the floor. Will one of you share what you are feeling? When behaviors, feelings, experiences, and the nature of the problem, challenge or situation are clear, then changes can be more easily made. The meaning of words and body language can be explored. The basis of conclusions can be enlightening. Using questions to expand and clarify is important in families and in groups. And of course, the elephant is saying, I don't know why when I'm in a room, people ignore me. Famous elephant in the room. You said your mom doesn't like you. Will you tell me what makes you think that? I don't think others care about finishing what we started. Will you tell me what is happening that makes you think that? I know my husband doesn't love me. Will you give me some examples of his behavior that leads you to feel that way? A client must be willing to explore more deeply. A client must feel comfortable and safe. It can be useful for the practitioner to ask about the client's hesitancy to share, but the practitioner should not push clients to share. Gaining further information may help in establishing a trusting relationship. Silence may be useful in encouraging clients to explore further. And of course, if you've ever watched the movie Good Will Hunting, then that's exactly what the counselor Sean was doing with Will Hunting. He was allowing him to think, and he was showing him that he was willing to be patient with him. Silence allows time for processing. Feelings may be experienced more deeply during silent periods. The more intense the feelings, the more silent time may be needed to experience them. Some people need more silent time to process process their thoughts and feelings. And this is one of the things that you need to think about. One of the problems, well, I don't know if you can call it a problem, but one of the aspects of European Americans is that they like to fill silence with noise. So if you've ever been around Europeans, then the amount of silent time that you're dealing with tends to be fairly limited. But indigenous people, American Indians, Native Americans tend to enjoy their silence. Some people need quiet time to think. Silence should be used purposefully. Observe your client's reaction to silence. Some may feel rejected. Some may just feel uncomfortable. Each situation and each client needs to be thoughtfully considered. And of course, if your client is a European American, then potentially what will happen is they will feel uncomfortable with the silence. They're not used to it. To develop deeper understanding of clients besides focusing on their challenges, you need to focus on their strengths, their resources, and their positive factors. Many clients may want their challenges to be understood before they move on to strengths. By focusing on client strengths, resources, and other positive factors, the practitioner can help clients feel hopeful, positive, and more able to cope. Highlighting what clients have already achieved shows that the practitioner understands and supports the efforts that they have made. Questions that might be helpful in exploring strengths and positive factors. What do you do well? This is always a good question. What do you like about yourself? What does your family do that is fun? We walk through the jungle in the rain. that's what that family did. And we dye our hair really bright yellow. What are some good things about this organization? Don't tell me what's wrong with the organization. What's some good things about the organization? Tell me about friends that have helped you in the past. What have you done that you are proud of? Empowerment is achieved when clients know that they have the knowledge, skills, competencies, and resources to make decisions, solve problems, and achieve goals. As people use their strengths and resources to face and deal with problems and challenges, they gain confidence. And let me give you a quick example. When I was drawing blood, I'm really good at drawing blood, and I discovered that by rarely missing when I was trying to draw blood. No matter how small the vein was, no matter how sick the patient was, I usually got my blood. So when I went into a room, no matter how many people had failed, I always knew that I was going to get it. And it was the confidence that I had that allowed me to go into that room. A lot of people would have balked, as a lot of people do, in trying to get the blood, but I never did. And I was almost always successful. Tell me about something you completed that seemed difficult. Climbing a rock wall looks difficult to me. What skills have helped you solve previous challenges? How have you resolved previous challenges? The easiest way to do this is to go backwards. Anyway. After reflecting the client's strengths, the practitioner can invite the client to catalog other instances when they have actively participated in solving problems. This will enhance their confidence and sense of empowerment. Tell me about something you completed that seemed difficult. Not sure what that is. Of the things you have already done to resolve this problem, tell me about what has worked well, even for a brief period of time. And that's one of the Hemsworths and Scarlett Johansson, I think. And he's putting a headlock on her. I'm not exactly sure why. But he's laughing and she's laughing, so I guess they're okay. Oops. What are some of the things you learned from working with past challenges? What skills helped you solve past challenges? How have you resolved previous challenges? Respect can be demonstrated by expressing understanding and validating the client's story, by showing interest in the client's thoughts and feelings, wants, needs, and goals, by creating and maintaining a collaborative environment, by asking about strengths, resources, potential, and capacities, by identifying their strengths. Well, all the trained professionals in this group, I am confident that we can find a way to resolve this issue. You've tried to solve this problem. Will you tell me about other things that you have considered but haven't used yet? You seem quite angry about how your boss has been behaving. It must be a tough place to work. How do you think I might help you? When you resolve this problem, what are some of the things that will be different in your family? We will all count our thumbs. There we go. You've told me about the many ways that you have worked on this challenge. Who else in the agency might be willing to work with us to resolve this problem? As I understand it, you have done a lot of thinking about the problems this organization is facing. You have talked to a number of people about their understanding of the problem and have decided to commit energy and time to resolving this problem. You've taken some important steps in problem solving. And that is the end of chapter 10. So let's go on to chapter 11. Assessing readiness and motivation. Starting with research by Prochaska in 1999, researchers have identified 5 stages of readiness to change using smoking cessation, weight reduction, and sobriety studies. And of course, these are the areas that we have seen the most work because they are the most common. And also, this is where we have seen successes. And so these are the 5 stages of readiness: pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. Those are the 5 stages. So the first stage, of course, is pre-contemplation, where they're not even thinking about it. You're mentioning it, but they're not ready. They're not even ready to start. The contemplation stage, you've mentioned it, and they're thinking about getting started. If you've ever been around alcoholics, one of the things that you know is that they deny that they're alcoholics. Well, that's if they're still in denial, then that's the pre-contemplation stage. If they realize, oh man, look what I've done to my family, that's the contemplation stage. So if they decide that they are going to go into treatment, that's they've already decided that they're going to go. That's the preparation stage. And when they actually go into treatment, that's the action stage. And of course, once they're out of treatment, that's the maintenance stage, when they have to maintain their problem. Now, one of the problems with any of these processes is that there's always the possibility of a relapse. And one of the things that you need to remember is that relapse is normal. Relapse happens. It's very rare for someone to fulfill a goal, lose weight, stop smoking, or drink, and not have a relapse. And that's something that you need to tell them, that this is very common. This is why you need to stay away from this. This is why you need to stay away from, don't go into a bar. You go into a bar, the probability you're going to drink is really, really high. And if you fall off the wagon, what you need to do is get back on right away. Okay. Anyway, those are the 5 stages. We're going to talk about those 5 stages right now. The pre-contemplation stage, the individual denies or lacks understanding of his problem behavior. Since the individual does not recognize their problem, they do not see the need for change. They may blame their problem on others. Usually that's the way it is. They may only agree to see a practitioner because someone else has suggested or required it, like, the law has decided that this is your 5th DUI. I think it's time for you to admit that you have a problem. A person who abuses substances, but despite many arrests for driving under the influence, does not consider themselves to have a problem that needs to be addressed. And this is the pre-contemplation stage. A gang that lives in a community with high levels of violence, who believe they can continue perpetrating violence and not be personally affected, pre-contemplation stage. A husband who comes along to counseling because his wife thinks they have problems but doesn't see any problem himself, pre-contemplation stage. A wife who wants to end her marriage and comes to counseling to ease her guilt. Maybe she's going to counseling in order to tell herself, I did everything I could to save the marriage. I even went to counseling. Pre-contemplation stage. A person who has had a serious health crisis and has been told to change their eating habits, but states, I have always eaten this way and I'm not going to change now. Pre-contemplation stage. Practitioners should focus on raising clients' awareness of the urgency of the issues and pain or fear involved. Counselor, if you continue drinking, what do you think your life will be like in 5 years? Counselor, I have worked with people who have changed their eating habits and become healthier. A person in pre-contemplation stage isn't interested in setting goals. The target must be to get the client to think about changing their lives and whether it will improve their lives. Until you can get the individual to admit that they have a problem, then nothing is going to happen. You can take them to counseling all you like. You can put them in rehab over and over again. But until they admit they have a problem, the problem isn't going to be solved. A second stage of readiness for change is contemplation. The individual in this stage weighs the pros and cons in making a change, but they are not quite ready to move ahead with making a change. Practitioners can discuss the advantages and disadvantages of changing. It is helpful to identify barriers or challenges to making changes, and if you don't mention those barriers and challenges, then when they confront them, they're going to use that as an excuse, the fact that you didn't tell them that, to leave the program. The practitioner can propose small steps toward considering a change. Practitioner, as you think about giving up marijuana, what do you consider would be the advantages and disadvantages? Client, I am not ready to make any changes right now. They are in the contemplation stage. Client, I have wondered if some of the problems on this team are because I am kind of dominating, but on the other hand, I think we get more accomplished because I am pushy. Contemplation stage. Client, my boss thinks I should get over my fear of making speeches, but I am just not sure if it is something I can do. At least they're thinking about it. They are in the contemplation stage. Client, I keep getting sent to the principal's office for fighting, and I can't play in the next football game. I don't like getting in trouble, but I have to stand up for myself. They know they have a problem, and they're thinking about it. That's the contemplation stage. We have discussed forming a committee to address the problem in this organization, but I wonder if we could really accomplish anything. At least they acknowledge the fact that they have a problem and they need to do something. Practitioners can help clients identify barriers or challenges to making changes and also strengths that will be helpful if they decide to change. Practitioners might ask if there are small steps that they might consider that may lead to a greater willingness to change in the near future. The third stage is the preparation stage. The clients are ready to change and are looking for information. They may have already made some changes and are wanting to make more progress. They may have made some small steps and are ready to move forward making goals. Generally, people need to be at this stage before a major change will be possible. Okay, so we've gone through the pre-contemplation stage, the contemplation stage, and the preparation stage. Now we're going to talk about the fourth stage, which is the action stage. This is when something actually happens. This is when changes are made. Clients are ready to take specific steps and may need little or no support from practitioners. If the practitioner assumes that clients are at this stage and yet they are still in a previous stage, the practitioner will likely feel frustrated. Clients may feel that they should be ready to take steps that they are not yet ready to take. Only about a third of clients come to a practitioner at this stage, and that's something that you need to remember. Usually you got to talk them into it, and that's okay. That's all right, but you need to be prepared to deal with that. If you think that all your clients are going to come in ready to change, you're wrong. They're probably in the contemplation stage because they're there, especially if they came in on their own. But if they were told to come in by a judge or by their spouse, they're probably still in the pre-contemplation stage, and nothing's going to happen until you can convince them that there is a problem that needs to be taken care of, and that they're the ones that are the problem, and that they're the ones that can take care of that problem. An obese client, when faced with life-threatening health issues, joins Weight Watchers, learns to follow the program, and loses a significant amount of weight. Action. A parent whose children have been removed from the home because the parent used harsh, abusive means of discipline says that they will learn other ways of discipline, willingly goes to a parenting class, and talks with a practitioner about ways to use what they have learned. A child realizes that they will not be able to play on a team without earning passing grades and starts attending an after-school tutoring class in order to bring up their grades. A task group establishes a clear goal, identifies steps to achieve their goal, and talks with a practitioner about ways to work together most effectively. Maintenance, the pull to return to old behaviors is extremely strong, and this is the relapse we were talking about. And people are not going to be take care of their problems, and that problem is not going to be pulling on them, to be getting them to or trying to get them to go back to their old ways. It was comfortable. That's why they were doing what they were doing, no matter what it is. This is one of the biggest problems with heroin. Heroin has such a strong pull, it gives you a euphoric effect. It's not the effect that heroin gives you, it's the fact that if you're not on heroin, you feel really, really bad. I understand from what people have told me. Client needs to develop ways to cope with temptations and to reward day-to-day successes. And I had a friend up in Montana. He had been to counseling over and over and over and over and over again. He became a holy man, and when that happened, he said every day he wakes up and he has to decide he's not going to drink. I had another friend up there that he told me exactly the same thing. He'd been an alcoholic for all of his young life, and he'd been sober for 17 years. And he said every day he has to get up and tell himself, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. It is helpful to explore how past successes have been maintained and develop ways to maintain current changes. That's the toughest part. You got to get up every morning and tell yourself you're not going to do it. It must be remembered that this stage can be difficult. The old behavior was maintained before because it was rewarding and comfortable. Clients need to learn to cope with old behaviors and temptations for the long haul. An organization develops more effective ways of problem solving and plans regular meetings so potential problems can be addressed before they become bigger issues. An individual learns to stop procrastinating on projects and makes plans to check in with someone who will provide honest feedback about whether the problem seems to be reappearing. A person who has had serious problems with alcohol abuse continues to be involved in AA, even though they have been sober for an extended length of time. They still go to Alcoholics Anonymous so they can remember who they are. A person who has lost weight with the help of Weight Watchers and continues to attend meetings at least once a month. And I think Weight Watchers has actually changed their name. Hasn't Weight Watchers changed their name? WW? Yeah, now they're WW. They're no longer Weight Watchers for some reason.
And yeah, they're lifetime members and they get to come to meetings for free.
Oh, lifetime members get to come to meetings for free. Can't argue with that. Relapse is common, and preparation for it needs to be part of the process. Relapse is so common when changes has occurred that some practitioners add it as a stage of change. So it could be the sixth stage. When relapse occurs, clients may return to any of the previous stages. It is the job of the practitioner to determine which stage the client is in. Termination is the point at which there is no temptation to return to old behavior. And of course, that may never happen. So this is assessing stages of change. Do you currently have a problem with? If yes, then the client is in contemplation, preparation, or action stage. If no, then the client is in pre-contemplation stage. Do you intend to deal with the problem? If the answer is someday, then the client is in the contemplation stage. If the answer is in the next few weeks or a specific date, then they're in the preparation stage. If they say right now, then they are in the action stage. Do you intend to deal with the problem? If the answer to the question was no, then ask what leads you to say that. If the answer is because it is not a problem, the client is in the pre-contemplation stage. If the client responds because I've already dealt with that problem, the client is in the maintenance stage. Another theory that can be used to assess readiness or the ability to make changes is social cognitive theory. This theory was developed by Albert Bandura and was originally called the social learning theory. You may know it by the social learning theory. In counseling, we call it the social cognitive theory, but you'll see it also as the social learning theory. This theory considers the impact of the following factors as to readiness for change: the environment, the personal aspects, and the behavioral aspects. Personal factors include everything: physical makeup, brain structure, cognitive capacity, beliefs, self-concept, goals, emotions. Personal factors deal with how you interact with others. Are you focused more inward or out on yourself, or are you focused more on outwards on others? Look at the gap between this guy's big toe and his next toe. Look at that gap. I have no gap between my toes. That's just amazing. Research has shown that behavior affects brain structures. Long-haul truck drivers have different brain structures than theoretical physicists. Behavior also affects physical makeup, as someone who is sedentary will look different from a marathoner. And this guy takes care of himself, and this guy is more sedentary. And as you can see, he has quite a belly. When assessing a person's readiness or ability to make changes from the point of view of the social cognitive theory, several dimensions are considered. Does the environment support or encourage changed behavior? Does the person think that they have the capacity to make the change? Does the client believe that there is something to be gained from making the change rather than maintaining the current behavior? The practitioner must take into account all factors that influence the client, the family, the group, or organization. Do they feel compelled to solve the problem? The amount of discomfort created by the problem impacts the motivation. Environmental factors can influence motivation as well. The relationship of the client and practitioner influence motivation. Positive regard can increase motivation, as can the practitioner's genuineness, focus on the issues, and regular feedback. And this is your job. You need to be genuine, you need to focus on the issues, and you need to give the client regular feedback. Problems in the relationship must be dealt with non-defensively by both parties, but especially the practitioner. It is important for the practitioner to regularly ask for feedback from the client to ensure that the progress that they perceive is actual and not illusional. Discounting is a cognitive distortion that allows clients to deny or minimize existence of the problem. There are 4 levels of discounting: thinking there is no problem, thinking the problem is not significant but present, thinking the problem does not have a solution. This still blocks motivation. If it has no solution, then there's no way to solve the problem. And thinking that others have changed the problem, but that they cannot do it. This could be the contemplation stage. An individual who thinks being 50 pounds overweight is not a problem. A family that believes disciplining children by hitting them with a belt isn't a problem. A task group that thinks that the fact that they haven't started working on an assignment that is due in a few days is not a problem. The business that thinks the fact that their product isn't completely safe is not a problem. The guy that is 50 pounds overweight accepts it as a problem, but not a serious one. And this is Pablo Sandoval. This is when he played for the Red Sox. He just signed a minor league contract with the Giants, interestingly, and he looks a lot thinner than he did the last time I saw him. So he was a bit overweight when he played for the Red Sox. Anyway, the abusive belt-hitting family might not worry about their discipline technique because 1, they never do it in public, 2, it doesn't happen that often, and 3, this must be the right way to discipline because their family has always done it this way going back 5 generations. It's tradition. The task group says that getting started late is a problem, but not a serious one because students work on things at the last minute all the time and they still get them done because they are so brilliant. Otherwise, they wouldn't be going to Harvard. The business admits that their product isn't completely safe, but since most people are not negatively affected by it, it isn't really important to change it. Being 50 pounds overweight is a serious problem, but everyone in the family is overweight and there's nothing that can be done about it. There is no solution. Disciplining children by hitting them with a belt may be considered a serious problem by some blue noses in the community, but it is the only effective way to make their children behave. There is no solution. We wanted to get a good grade on this project and knew that starting late may mean that won't be possible, but everyone was too busy. We just couldn't do it any other way. There is no solution. The business made a statement that selling a product that is unsafe is a risk, but it is a profitable product, and they don't know any way to improve the safety. And we've seen this over and over again. Ford knew that if their Ford Pinto was rear-ended, that it might explode. It might puncture the gas tank, and there might be an explosion. But hey, it was cheaper to pay off the person that got injured in the accident than it was to change the product. That's real. That's really happened, as stupid as that sounds. Thinking the others have changed the problem, but they cannot do it. I am concerned about being overweight, and I know that my friend lost weight recently, but losing weight isn't something I can do. We haven't been able to discipline our children except by hitting them, but our neighbors took a parenting course and learned several new ways to discipline their children. But can we do it? For this assignment, we weren't able to start working until right before the project was due, but some of the other groups in the class somehow found enough time to work together before the project was due, and they got better grades than we did, despite the fact they weren't as brilliant as we are. We haven't found any way to be profitable except by continuing to sell an unsafe product, but there are other similar companies who have found alternative, safe, and profitable products. They could do it, but we can't. The practitioner's job is to get the client to accept that the problem exists. The problem is serious. The problem is solvable by the client. Most people are uncomfortable with change, so getting past discounting may take time. Strengths, capacity, and resources have a significant effect on motivation. Clients who have many personal strengths, good social support, and adequate resources tend to be motivated. Resilience is an important strength. Level of stress and demands reduces or enhances motivation. Clients who have faced extensive stress recently and have high stress currently have depleted their resources and may have difficulty dealing with any new stress. Experience teaches the client that they have the ability to affect change. Experience leads to self-efficacy, which leads to hope. Another element of hope is an internal locus of control. They believe that their behavior will produce the desired changes. So if you have an internal locus of control, you know that you're in charge of yourself and that you can affect change. People with an external locus of control believe that control is external and they have no power to influence it. Thus, anything they do has no connection to the outcome. There is no way that they can fix themselves. It has to be fixed from outside. Practitioners bring their previous experience, education, and beliefs about change to any meeting with clients. When change is not as quick or easy as clients want, practitioners provide support and encouragement that change is possible, and that is your job. Another element of hope is the placebo effect. Research in counseling and medicine consistently shows that when people believe that something will help them, it often is helpful. And that is the end of that. So I'll talk to you again next week.